All right. It is good to be with you. Let me make sure I got everything set up here because that didn't sound right. No, hold on. Wait a minute. I know what to do. Boom. I think we're good. All right. Okay. Can we start the show? Does it sound all right? Does it sound all right to you? I certainly hope it does. We're plugging back in after being on remote down at Media Row for the last week. I know I did wake up with Larry yesterday, but we're back, baby. It's good to be with you here on Tuesday, February 10th. My goodness, it's been a long time since we've just hung out in the normal setting at 11 o'clock. Oh, my God. Look at this. Oh, my God, it's Damon. Right? I mean, come on. Oh, my God. Mr. Plow, good to see you. Everything sounding good? Like, let me know, everyone. Everything's sounding good? Everything back to normal? Does it look and sound right? Okay. Let's officially rock. Thank you very much. Our first official sounds good to me. Thank you, Rookie C. Let's rock indeed. Yeah, you chill out at the Dubliner. Chill out at the Dubliner. After, of course, you eat at Ike's. Thanks so much to my buddy Ike for getting us up and under Media Row. And he fed the people. He fed the masses. They were all fat and happy when he was done with them, and you will be too when you go to Ike's. Make sure you sign up for that Love Rewards program. You start earning your way towards free sandwiches and all good things. Our friends at the Dubliner, speaking of all good things, the Dubliner West Portal. Love you guys. It's been awesome riding with you once again during another football season. And I got to pop into Kenny and make sure that they're going to keep on coming along. I've loved the ride. I've loved the Dubliner so very, very much. And we got a new contract to renegotiate with the Dubliner soon. And I certainly hope they come on back. And my love for them goes to infinity. Look, I got screwed by garbage passing yards when it comes to Drake May. But, man, come on, Drake, you're kicking my butt. I was so ready to win big on Sleeper, and then Drake May screwed it all up with his junk time yardage. Let me just tell you, though, I had fun on Sleeper, and I did it responsibly, and you can too, and you get a $100 deposit match up to $100. And look, it's not just the daily fantasy on Sleeper. It's not just the incredible odds that you can get for yourselves and the parlays that you can bake up for yourself, but right now, you get a free $20 entry for player picks, and there are team picks. You want to take the Warriors straight up over the Memphis Grizzlies? You can do that now over at Sleeper. Check it all out. Thanks to them for being wonderful sponsors as well. And again, it's good to have everyone back here. So today we're talking about, do you Debo do or do you Debo don't? George Kittle hung out with Debo over the weekend of the Super Bowl. He was in town, obviously, for the big game. He partied with some of his old teammates. And look, when it comes to Debo being a team guy, I know he didn't exactly get along with Jake Moody and the long snapper there, but the teammates and the coach have always really, really liked him. Debo, the dude, has no dents in his reputation with the San Francisco 49ers. They still really like that guy. They didn't really want to even say goodbye, I don't think. Debo's kind of diva behavior with the media, you know, I'm not going to begrudge him that. If I were a football player, I think I would pretty much hate the freaking media too. So I'm not going to get all bent out of shape about that at any point in time. I'll deduct 0 points for that. And there's also the fact that the 49ers were arguably undermanned at best, awful at worst at wide receiver all last year. So what attributes would Debo bring back to the table? He would instantly bring the attribute of, I understand the offense. It was the only offense I knew until I left. So there would be that. And again, George Kittle, who pretty much is the soul of this football team, says, I'd love to see the guy back. I mean, he was not even being coy when he was flirting with the idea of Debo returning. Debo played in 17 games last year. 72 catches, 727 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Now, he isn't quite the do-everything Swiss Army knife, jack of all trades that he was when he was at his absolute apex, his zenith with the 49ers. He had 17 carries for 75 yards. So he's not the two-way Debo player and probably never will be again. His numbers from his first season in Washington would have led the wide receiver group that the 49ers just had this year in catches and in yards. Only Juwan Jennings as a wide receiver scored more touchdowns than Debo Samuel did with his 5 this year. Again, the knowledge of the playbook, the swagger and confidence that he's always projected, the boombox entrance would absolutely get an upgrade with Debo Samuel. Debo was a huge part of the boombox entrance. It would be served very, very well if he were to return, but honestly, that's about it. Let's see how we're doing in the sip of the day department, shall we? We didn't get any of those last week on Media Row. How we doing? We're doing good. He never went over 100 yards in a single game with the Washington Commanders. Now, Jaden Daniels obviously got hurt, and that threw the entire offense off track. Deebo is not washed the way some people just want to say, oh, that guy's washed. He's not washed, but he's in the laundry basket. Like, he's heading downstairs to the actual washer and dryer more than he is a fresh new shirt. He's no longer the force of nature that made him at one time so special. Kyle Shanahan fooled nobody with the way that he was using Debo Samuel in Debo's final year with the 49ers. 0 teams had trouble containing him. He is now officially on the wrong side of 30. He's about to be 30, or he is 30, I believe. And the way that I look at it is the 49ers, more than anything else, they need youth and they need speed at the position of wide receiver. Debo doesn't show up with any of that. I really do think that they walked away at the right time from Debo Samuel. They did. They walked away at the right time, not when he was completely useless to them in their final season, but like Bill Walsh famously said, a year too early, better than a year too late. So I got no problems with them walking away. And when it comes to re-adding him, I would just say, unless it is truly one of those you can't afford to not do that prices, don't do that. Don't do that. I would rather the opportunity be finally given to the next generation of wide receivers who, again, seems to be in the room but never in the play sheet. It's time for them. It's time for whatever free agent acquisition that they make this offseason. It's time for whoever they might draft in this offseason to not be redshirted, but to actually be played. Again, Deebo at the better than perfect price. Yeah, there would be room for Deebo at the inn if there were a better than perfect price for his services. But it would have to be, again, better than perfect. And I don't think Debo's looking to come back and give the Niners a better than perfect number. You know, are you trading for No. It feels like this ship has officially sailed. And once a ship sails away, it's really tough to bring it back to port to pick any left behind passengers. It feels like they got away at the right time. I don't think this is going to be happening. What happened was guys got wrapped up in their emotions, and it's great to see you. And man, I love you, and I miss you in the locker room. And look, dude, you had a big injury this year. We had a lot of injuries. We still went 13-3. We still had a pretty good year. We still went 13-5, and went to the playoffs and won on the road. We'll be talking about whether the 49ers had a good year or not here in just a minute, because there seems to be some confusion amongst you. But look, I just don't think it's the time to get back into the Deebo business for anything other than what do you mean? Like they're selling Jordans in there for $25? Well, then I guess I got to go get myself a $25 pair of Jordans. Sure. Okay. Can't afford to not buy that. By the way, this is Jillian's justification for an awful lot of her shoe purchases. I can't afford to not get those. So, I understand the fascination. I understand the respect that this team has for him, but this is why George Kittle should not be the general manager. You can't go based on, acquiring your roster based on, I love that dude. It's not how it works. He's still a pretty good player. The Niners need better than pretty good options at wide receiver, because pretty good to less than pretty good is pretty much all they got. They need to do better than the trajectory of, let's get back into the Debo Samuel business. That's the way I feel about it anyway. What's this here? From SRSOS2. Don't see any of these He's a Cancer trolls around today. The other Niner players loved him. And that must dig at their craws. Whoever said that Deebo was a cancer? I never really picked that up from anybody. Maybe there were some people out there. Maybe there were some content creators. And Deebo was never a cancer on the 49ers. He became a little, I think, disillusioned and a little bit upset at his situation on the team. I think that was some frustration with his own career at that point in time. I just thought it was the right time for the clean break. And once you get a clean break, you probably don't go back to that. Couple of supers already coming from Yosh saying, had an Ikes last night. Well, then you ate well last night. There's no doubt about it. Yosh again says trade for Justin Jefferson and Crosby. Okay, there's a salary cap, so you can't do that. And honestly, I don't think the Niners are a one big move away team. You know, if you gave me the choice between the two, honestly, I think I'd rather have Max Crosby than Justin Jefferson, although Justin Jefferson would be pretty alluring. There's no doubt. But I just watched a Super Bowl where Jackson Smith and Jigba only had 4 catches and Seattle dominated that game because they were better defensively. Here is the new boss is the same as the old boss. Trench warfare. That's what you need to worry about. You can get by with Kendrick Bourne if you're doing trench warfare the right way. Yosh again says, rather get Bernard from Alabama. We'll see. We'll see. Tom Crown said, no one stated Deebo is a bad person. Deebo injuries and age caught up with him. Yeah, I just think it's time to say we got really good memories. Thanks for the memories. And you keep on moving on in a different direction. Again, speed and youth really doesn't check either of those boxes. But we've seen the 49ers check another box that they've ticked far too often. As a matter of fact, I just had to tweet out a little while ago, hey, at least the 49ers lead the NFL in something. That's players with gunshot wounds. They added another this week. Keon White was shot in the ankle at a post-Super Bowl party somewhere in the Mission, and he was with Lil Baby. You wouldn't think babies would be as armed, but Lil Baby apparently is armed just a little. So, no, I'm not saying that Lil Baby shot him or that he was doing anything wrong at all. Keon White and everyone that has talked about this or gone on record about it says that he underwent surgery, and it is a wrong place at the wrong time, and he wasn't involved in any of the the wrong decisions which led to him being shot in the ankle or anything like that. Didn't seem like he did anything wrong, but we do have an investigation underway, but we will jump to zero conclusions and say, I'm glad that he's okay. And it was totally non-life threatening, and everyone will probably be fine whether he's back with the Niners or not. That doesn't even matter. He was, he had a couple of moments after they dealt for him, but whatever. Keon White is a full-on whatever. I do know this, and the reason why I brought it up isn't to shame him or tell Lil Baby jokes, being a little armed with a little gun or anything like that. What I want, hold on, we don't know this. Do we know this? I don't think we know this. Tom is saying Keon White was shot by Lil Baby as he tried to crash. No, I don't think so. I don't think anything knows what's going on there. What do we got here? YouTube is literally throwing up ads midstream over the stream running, not pausing the stream to show the ad. Well, that's how YouTube makes its money. And I will just say this. You can sign up for YouTube Premium and you'll never see another ad again. So you should do that. If you're on here watching almost every day, it's not a bad investment. Yosh again coming in. Look at Yosh. Yosh has already dropped 4 supers today. He's feeling it. He's in a super zone. Yosh says, DB, imagine Omar Cooper on this team. Oh, dude, give me Cooper. Give me Elijah Surratt. Again, put as many Hoosiers as you can on the 49ers. Let's make it Bloomington West Coast. My coffee game today is back on, everybody. Florio reported Keon White got in an argument with Lil Baby, then gunshots broke out, but we don't know who the trigger man was. Although, if you do get shot in the ankle, it's probably someone Lil that did that. They're aiming at the ankle. Is that what happened? Is Lil Baby so Lil that his bullets only reach the ankle? Like Lil Baby will never shoot anyone in the chest. It's only ankles and down. Is that how Lil he really is? There we go. I have premium and I swear by it. Tuba. Thank you, Tuba. Tuba Sun God. I will say this, Red Jet, you're right. The Bay Area was literally lit for over 10 days. I'm here for it. Even the weather was fantastic. Look, there is no doubt. There's absolutely no doubt that the weather was the MVP of the entire Super Bowl week. No doubt. It was great weather for everyone involved. And the Bay Area got a great light on it. Keon White might argue otherwise because he got shot in the ankle, allegedly by Lil Baby. Ooh, never daunted. What about Curtis Rourke? What does committing to keeping Mac Jones mean for Rourke, who should be ready to take the field this season? All I can tell you is that we don't know anything about Curtis Rourke being successful at all as a professional quarterback. I love the guy. Obviously, he's got a lot of Indiana bona fides with me, but I'm not coming off of Mac Jones unless the price is awesome. And I really think Curtis Rourke is ready to go. You're going to have to talk to Kyle Shanahan about that one. But one last point on Keon White. And this just doesn't apply to Keon White. This doesn't apply to football players. This doesn't apply to friends or enemies of Lil Babies or big babies or medium babies or any babies. Beautiful babies. This is the best advice I will ever give you on this channel. Take it to heart. Memorize it. Live by it. And you'll be better off for it. This happened to Keon White after 4 a.m. Nothing good happens after 4 a.m. Be home by 4 a.m. Nothing good happens after 4 a.m. If you're still out chasing a good time at 4 a.m., the amount of things that can go wrong are infinitely longer than the amount of things that can go right. Wrap it up by 4 a.m. And this is really good advice from Uncle Damon. Do not chase the night. There's another one coming tomorrow. You don't have to chase the night that hard. There's another one coming, and then there's going to be another one after that. Then there's going to be another one after that. And let me tell you, you don't want to be the last person at the party either. You want to be a little cooler than that. You want to exit. You don't need to Irish goodbye the whole thing, but you just get out of there before it's officially over. That's the cooler thing to do than to try to string it out to its bitter last drop of the evening. This is outstanding advice. There's nothing I can possibly tell you on today's show that could do better by your own life than that. I've been to some great raves in the Bay that lasted till 6 a.m. Well, the rave thing was a little bit different. We're not in that rave time anymore. It's not let's lock ourselves in a warehouse, do Molly, and jump up and down until the sun comes up. This is, this is a little bit more, in the neighborhood, shall we say. You don't want to be in the neighborhood after 4 a.m. This neighborhood, in this case, the Mission. There you go, Leslie. The only thing good that happens after 4 a.m. is the sunrise. That or some seriously, like early morning, late night nookie, whatever you want to call it. If you really had a good night, you should be in bed at 4 a.m. busy. If you know what I'm saying. Oy, oy, oy! That's right.
Pound it, pound it, pound it, pound it.
Listen to Uncle Damon. He's got good advice on this. And again, I think you come here maybe for perspective. And so let me help everyone with a little perspective because it seems to be lost. You know, it was really funny. The pendulum swung really hard this year around Niners perspective. It was Kyle is trash. Kyle's got to get fired to, hey, you know what? Kyle should absolutely be a coach of the year candidate to then the 49ers get blown out in Seattle in the divisional. And then, you know, Kyle sucks again. Kyle, you know, and then the coach of the year thing comes out and everyone's like, well, Kyle got robbed. He should have done better than last. You know, so it's like there's a lot of confusion, I think. There's a lot of people who get spun around by the Kyle come in with preconceived notions of him and Shanahan, and there's a lot of it seems to be a lot of conjecture. What we just watched from the 49ers, there seems to be an argument about the question, did the 49ers just have a good season? So here we are. And I'm going to officially answer the question for you if you need help with this. And this is the official answer. The official answer of did the 49ers have a good season is yes. Yes, they did. The 49ers just had a good season. Again, 13-5 with a playoff road win that knocked out the defending Super Bowl champion. That's a good year, kids. Now, it might not have ended with the Lombardi Trophy, but you factor in all the injuries and a season that should have fallen apart. I thought it was a good year, and I thought it was one of Kyle's best year as head coach. And if you don't think that, I think your thinking is wrong. Now, let's also examine that me saying that the 49ers had a good year is not lowering standards. You know, well, what am I supposed to do? I want a Super Bowl. Am I supposed to lower my standards? No, but you're supposed to understand that what we're looking at in the NFL is so staggeringly difficult that even a well-run team can fall short of its goal all the time. It's nuts. It's so hard to win a Super Bowl. It's so hard. The amount of data points and little miracles that all need to line up for it to all happen. It's impossible to say there's no doubt this team's going to be a great team this year. This team's going to be a bad team this year because all the teams that were bad teams last year, well, one of them was just the AFC champion. You know, things can swing quickly here. And this is absolutely not about, well, Damon, you've lowered standards to fit the 49ers into a definition of good year. No, I understand professional sports and how difficult this all really is. There are too many people that think like Talladega Nights was a sports documentary. It wasn't. It was a comedy based around the buffoonish notion that if you ain't first, you're last. Like, that is not that. Ricky Bobby said, if you ain't first, you're last, to demonstrate what a moron he was, not really what a great competitor he was and how properly aligned his compass and greatness truly were. Okay. So everyone needs to be a little less Ricky Bobby and appreciate how difficult it is to even maintain a couple of good seasons in a row, which the Niners really have. I mean, I know that 2024 got lost due to injury. And even though they felt like they had as many injuries, but just not one to Christian McCaffrey, which means they still had a functioning offense. But that is not something that is just, you know, like, it's what the Niners are is a pretty good team. And they're a pretty well-run franchise. How hard is it to remain a good NFL team? Well, there were 7 new division winners this year. The Eagles were the only team to repeat as a division champion, and the 49ers eliminated them. 7 new division champions this past year. 7. There are only 8 divisions. That's how volatile this whole thing is at all times. You know, the Niners were the 3rd best team in the NFC West, which probably means they were somewhere around the 6th, 7th, 8th best team in all of football. The NFC West was a monster this year. In case you didn't see, the Super Bowl champ came from the NFC West. And again, New England went from worst to first to the Super Bowl. That's how volatile it all is at all times. And you have to appreciate that the Niners are not solely in control of their own destiny. There's a billion moving parts to an NFL season. And the Niners negotiate them pretty darn well, all things considered. Now, we can easily go back and circle the things that probably equaled, well, this is why you came up short. All these draft pick missed, all these injuries. It's pretty clear, looking back, hindsight, it's always 2020. And if there's one thing that is abundantly clear to me in terms of audience misunderstanding, and I'm not saying you, my audience, because you are the most well-heeled, educated, most brilliant audience in all of YouTubery. Do you have any idea how much harder it is to go from good to great than it is from bad to good? Going from bad to good happens in the NFL all the time. Going from bad to good happens in sports all the time. Going from good to great, only a hand-selected few really get that done. Going from good to truly great, that's even harder. Going from good to you're the champion, again, only one team gets to do that in any year, in any season. It is difficult out there. And this isn't me lowering standards at all. This is not me lowering standards. This is me understanding the situation. And I really hope that you understand the situation a little bit better by watching this channel. Again, I'm here to offer good advice, like be home at 4 a.m. And yeah, that was a pretty good season. Now, at the risk of deeply offending some people, oh my God, are you ready? We're about to talk about halftime and Bad Bunny. All right. If you are offended by someone singing in their native language, if you are offended by someone performing in Spanish, that's a you thing. That's a you thing. It's not the rest of us thing. It isn't. One of the great tricks, I think, played upon America in the social media age is that me being offended by something means I'm right about it. You're not. Just because something offends you doesn't mean you're right about that at all. At all. Well, it was done in America and it was supposed to be in English. Again, it's really hard for me to have a conversation with anyone that thinks that you're supposed to put up actual sidelines that cannot be crossed on art. Am I a big Bad Bunny guy? Absolutely not. And I'll talk about how I think all of his music sounds alike here in just a little bit. But to be offended by that, to be actually like triggered and angered by that, it's just nuts. Like, why don't you tell me without telling me that you are, an untraveled simpleton if you're deeply offended by that? I think that there's a perfect circle of the Venn diagram of people who were offended by Bad Bunny and also said that they were never, ever going to watch the NFL again after Colin Kaepernick took his knee. Well, you were back to watch this. So, you're in a cycle of outrage and you need, it's outrage du jour. You need something to be angry about every day because that's the way you think the world works, or that's the way the echo chamber that you stay in works. Offended by everything the NFL does, but by nothing your president does, says quite a bit about you. The Newsmax watcher, the Fox News watcher. These are the same people who used to be deeply offended by pedophiles, and then they found out like, oh, I'm on the wrong team for that, so we're not going to be offended by that anymore. Like, there's a lot of moving targets for you folks. There really are. And you can say, well, what, Damon, why are you bringing politics into this? Because there's clearly politics generating the outrage more than actual, like, I didn't like that. Because I do know this. When Menudo hit America, no one was really angry at it. When Los Lobos hit America, no one was angry at that. You know, when Cypress Hill would start rapping in Spanish, no one really ever got angry at that. So why are you angry at this? Because you were told to be offended, or because you really, really are? I don't get it. Also, you know, let me just say this. If you really thought, well, the band should be okay, so the Seahawks are in the Super Bowl. The band should be connected to a team in the Super Bowl or the area. It should have been Pearl Jam. You want to talk about not being able to understand shit? Tell me the lyrics of Yellow Ledbetter right now. I dare you. Without looking it up, tell me what Eddie Vedder is saying at any point in time during Yellow Ledbetter. On the weekend, hey, gotta know whether he don't wanna hit it on again. You didn't understand that, but you weren't angry? Again, if someone singing in their native language offends you, you're kind of an unworldly simpleton in my mind. Now, I tweeted something very innocuous, just like, I thought that was a good halftime. And if you're deeply disturbed by that, you got a screw loose. And someone was like, well, I didn't like it. That's fine. That's fine. You don't like Bad Bunny's music? Fine. You didn't like the staging of that show? Fine. That's fine. You're allowed to not like anything you don't like, and you are allowed to like anything that you do like. By the way, you know what I think is also just as disgraceful as anyone who's like, I was offended by Bad Bunny, are the morons who are like, I was offended by Kid Rock. Why? Why? If you like Kid Rock, good news. He was performing for you. Go ahead and watch that if you want to. You're allowed to turn off anything you don't want to watch, and you're allowed to turn on anything you do. I'm not a big Kid Rock guy, but he's got a few good songs for sure. What was that? I'm a cowboy, baby. That song that like put him on the map. That was a banger in the summer that year, right? I mean, that was fun. I don't care. I don't care. You're allowed to like whatever you want to like, and you're allowed to dislike whatever you dislike. And if you dislike Bad Bunny, the good news is that was over in 14 minutes and you survived. You survived. Now, people want to talk about what deeply offended them. Like, I actually thought that the production was great, the camera angles, the framing, the staging, the cameos. I thought it was all pretty well done. Now, I will admit that his music kind of all sounds the same to me. I'm familiar with some of his songs because let me tell you, Jillian likes it. Jillian comes and works out, and she puts on a little reggaeton, and she works, and she likes Bad Bunny. And I'm going to tell you this too. I think another reason why so many people don't like it is because they got like a world of incels who don't know anything about how to get women's ass shaken. Like Bad Bunny gets the girl's booty shaken. This is another reason to like him, whether you understand it or not. Girls like to dance to that. If you're into girls. By the way, since when did America become like anti-hot Latin chicks? When did that happen? I mean, so I've been listening to quite a bit of Bad Bunny because Jillian's got it on in the house, especially leading up to the Super Bowl. She's like, I want to know what we're going into. And it's on in the house. And I did. I even had to ask her. I said, look, I'm listening to this. Could you explain to me why he is the global phenomenon? He sounds an awful lot like an awful lot from that genre to me. And I like some of the beats for sure. And I've always kind of liked a Latin swing to music. I've never disliked a little I'm into it. I'm into it. I like going to Miami. I like vacationing in Mexico. I like it. I don't understand it necessarily, but to me, Bad Bunny, it sounds an awful lot like pretty much any music that I'm listening to as I sit in a taqueria enjoying my burrito. It's just kind of background there to me, and I'm not offended by it at all. And why are you? I just don't understand that. So if you really wanted to boil it down to like, okay, well, it's going to be the fact that he's going to come out in a dress and it's going to be all tranny. No, not at all. By the way, how did you survive Boy George? How did you survive David Bowie? Gender bending in music is not something that is being invented for our time. It's been around forever. Well, his message is going to be combative. It's going to be like, fuck ICE and fuck Donald Trump and fuck everything. Not at all. Like the message was, together, love is more powerful than hate. Well, what did it say on the football that he held up at the end of that? I bet that said, fuck, no, it said like, together, love is great or something like that. Like, it wasn't a negative message. Well, what about it being too gay? I saw two guys grinding on each other for 1/2 of 1/10 of 1 second. So I'm offended by this. Did the actual marriage ceremony offend you? There was an actual marriage, which, by the way, is pretty cool, right? Where'd you guys get married? We got married at halftime of the Super Bowl in front of 1 billion people. That's cool. That's cool. Were you offended by sugarcane? Were you offended by the taco stand that he stopped at? Were you offended by the little kid who was himself that he gave the Grammy to, Dream Big kid? I just don't understand what was so implicitly offensive about that, other than I wished it were in English. Again, tell me you don't know how to speak another language. I mean, that's the deeply offended by it's not in English and don't speak another language. That's a perfect circle in that Venn diagram right there. And I don't speak another language either, but I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not offended by other languages. You probably shouldn't be either. Well, what about all those flags? All those flags that he came, all those flags were flags from America. Do you realize that America is not a country? The United States of America is a country on the continent of North America. And all of those flags were North American flags. That's what's going on. So not only do you not understand language, you're not particularly good at geography either. I thought it was about unity. I thought it was about hot Latin chicks shaking their asses. We got Pedro Pascal, who everybody likes. We had Jessica Alba, who doesn't like Jessica Alba, right? I mean, that's a thumbs up every single time we see her. I don't understand. It's like someone has sowed so much division that that's the only operating system for a good swath of the country. After I posted what I felt was a very innocuous just tweet about halftime, oh my God, my timeline got polluted with anger. But I could not help but notice that the vast majority of the anger. Oh, hold on. Wait a minute. Hold on. Wait. I just saw something from my man, Carl. He says, even Ronald Acuna was there. Seriously? Was he? Ronald Acuna was out there? I've seen a list of like celebrities that were out there. I didn't even know Ronald Acuna was out there. That's cool. By the way, have you ever been to an opera? I have. Opera's not for me. Didn't particularly like it. I've been to a ballet. Ballet's not for me. I didn't particularly like it. I didn't have to make not liking it my identity. What I hate, what I don't like has become the identity. Let me tell you, I went to Indiana University, and Sage Steele went to Indiana University, and she's the biggest disgrace in America. She's just such a blowhard bitch. I just can't stand her. I met her, I liked her, and then she went full on MAGA. What I hate to tell you is like, honey, you're beige. They don't like you either. Stop sucking up to them. The vast majority of people saying, Damon, you're just some kiss-ass pussy faggot liberal. Fuck you, Damon. You live in San Francisco, you commie bitch. Like all this vile reaction on my timeline came from the accounts of Tim0984TH6423. The bots were out in full force, baby. The bots don't respond to the bots. I have people The vast majority of that were programmed to react to anyone who was tweeting like, that wasn't bad. And then they send the army because division is the last thing they have to sell to us. I'm telling you. Social media has so spun around the way people think, the way people react, the way people communicate. It's the worst thing that ever happened to America, the United States of America, or any other continent. Don't pick a fight with a robot. And that's what I realized. The vast majority of everyone who said, I fucking hate this, didn't follow me, had no followers themselves, tweeted 400 times, and it's all just negative MAGA propaganda and anger. Ask yourself, is that who you want to be? Do you want to be defined by, here's the list of everything I don't like? Or is it time for you to understand that we really don't care what you do or don't like? No one does. No one does. You like something? Great. Keep it to yourself. Don't like something? Great. Keep it to yourself. Like, not everyone has to have a big reaction to everything. Again, did you like Kid Rock? Great. He lip synced just for you. Just like Bad Bunny lip synced just for people who liked Bad Bunny. Personally, I was watching the Super Bowl. I really don't give a shit what happens at halftime. You know, and then, the virtue signaling of like, oh, that was the greatest halftime of all time. Bullshit. You should have seen Prince. Prince was better, but that's my personal taste. If that really was your favorite halftime show of all time, fantastic. Some people like Chinese food. Some people like pizza. Some people like it all. That's fine. And then you got your vegans who don't like anything, and they're just lost in the woods, and they're jaundiced looking. So screw them. Was that okay? Did everyone get through that segment? How many people are going to unsubscribe now? Oh my God. Damon had a reasonable conversation with himself. Damon, everyone has their opinion. Damon, that's your opinion. Dan, bravo. Bravo. So how about this? How about everyone just take a breath, calm down, and move on? Because that halftime show isn't going to pay your bills. It's not going to pick your kids up from school. It's not going to make sure that you get home safely at night or not get home safely at night. It means nothing. It literally was it was a blink of the eye in entertainment. It was as deeply impactful as Up With People was in 1982 or whenever they did. It just does not matter. Well, the national anthem, blah, 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 blah. I don't care anymore. Like, congratulations. You ruined the national anthem for me. Like, I don't care anymore. Sit down, stand up, lay down, turn around, sit on your own hands, stand up, belt it like a songbird with your hand over your heart. I don't even care anymore. I've got 2 boys to raise. I've got a wonderful marriage. I'm a happy person. Shit that makes unhappy people angry. If you're a happy person, it's not going to make you angry too. Good for Bad Bunny. Good for Kid Rock. Good for the NFL. Good for Turning Point US. I don't care. Who cares? What I was most excited about was that my mother-in-law brought over a delicious spread. Oh my God. Let me tell you, Liz, if you're watching, Liz, I know there's a lot of stuff that you watch on here that you're like, Damon, that made me uncomfortable. I can't believe you're talking about that. Or I can't believe let me just tell you, that dip that you brought over, that dip is so good. I finished it for dinner last night. What'd you have for dinner last night, Damon? I had leftover artichoke dip. It was so good. So good. Liz, thanks for the artichoke dip. That means so much more to me than any halftime performance, because in my deepest of deep heart and souls, I'll always be, when we were talking about Lil Baby, I'll always be Lil Fat Boy. Always. I got a fat man soul. And sometimes body, depends on how puffy I am that day. I'll tell you what I like about Bad Bunny. When his music comes on, my beautiful wife shakes her beautiful rear end. Thank you, Bad Bunny. So the Warriors pulled one out of thin air last night. Now, I saw more highlights of the game than I actually did watch that game. The game became far down my priority list of what I was watching last night, because last night was an awesome night of college hoops. You had Arizona losing at Kansas. Games at Kansas on Monday night. God, they're so good. I envy Kansas. The Jayhawks took down the number one team in the country last night. That was pretty damn cool. Let's see. The NBA got all frisky last night. The NBA had 2 on-court fights, including the tussle of the year. Charles Lee, the Hornets coach, got tossed. 4 players between Pistons and Hornets got thrown out of that game. Beef Stew, Isaiah Stewart, he probably should be suspended for the rest of the year. He came running off the bench like a crazy person. Beef Stew's there for, all the tussle you can give him. And I was watching the Winter Olympics. I love the Winter Olympics. I was watching some luge. Jack is really into luge. Jack likes the luge. Dad, that's a bad start. She hit the wall. Yeah, Jack, she hit the wall. But we were all about luge skiing last night. By the way, Lindsey Vonn. Salute to you, Lindsey Vonn. You want to talk about an athlete going out on their shield? Lindsey Vonn. She left it all on that mountain, to the point where she had to be medevaced off that mountain. But that's a straight up American badass right there. Salute to Lindsey Vonn. That's a bad mamma jamma. It really is. Anyway, so the Warriors last night, they start Pat Spencer, Moses Moody, Melton, Santos, and Draymond, and they actually come back from 11 down late in the game. They win by a single point over the Memphis Grizzlies, who are just terrible this year. But the Warriors pretty much had the JV team out there too, and they won. Al Horford was somehow plus 24 in his most impactful game probably since putting on a Warrior uniform. Kerr said that Steph Curry is going to be out through the All-Star game, which is this weekend. The All-Star game's a day after Valentine's Day. So that means Curry's going to miss the Spurs game on Wednesday. Porzingis, who knows when we're actually going to see him? He hasn't yet to put on a Warrior uniform. I think the Warriors would like to roll both those guys out after the All-Star break. Curry, hopefully. Porzingis is a coin toss at all times. The first game after the All-Star nonsense is against Boston on the 19th, and then the Nuggets are the next home game on the 22nd. So hopefully we'll see Curry, Porzingis, or a combination of both of them in either of those games. There are only 28 games remaining in the NBA's regular season. So if you haven't been paying much attention, I guess now would be the time to sort of lean in. I understand why you might be watching a little less Warriors hoops, especially when Curry's not playing. Again, some more supers here. This is Regular Ryan says, sitting in my car with hat and sunglasses, seatbelt on to tweet about how much you've offended me today. Thank you. Thank you very much for at least being offended in super chat form. I appreciate it. By the way, Red Jet coming in with a twin. Thank you, Red Jet. 2 dimes just for being your authentic asshole self. Always appreciate you for keeping it real in your way, period. Thanks for always staying true to you. Why don't y'all like and sub instead of trolling in the chat? There you go. Red Jet, thank you very, very much. Love you. Yeah, right? Right, Otis? Only 28 games left in the year, man. Only 28 games left in the year. All right. Before we get to today in history, there's one last thing to tell you about, and that is welcome to baseball season. Kind of. We got spring training. Spring training, pitchers and catchers reported at Scottsdale today for their first workouts, position players to follow and trickle in the next couple of days. And by the time we get to this weekend, everything in Scottsdale and spring training for the San Francisco Giants will be humming. Spring training opening up all over Major League Baseball yesterday, today, tomorrow. Let's see. You excited for the Adrian Hauser era? How about Tyler Molly? Are you excited about that? Molly? We'll figure it all out before it's all said and done. That's why there's spring training for everybody. Those are the new pitchers in the room. Harrison Bader and Rafael Devers will obviously be going through their very first springs with the San Francisco Giants. Luis Ariz, the batting champ, will be in his first spring season with the Giants. So let's go. Let's play some baseball. Let's go. Sure. I got to tell you, when I saw him on Media Row this week, because Dieter was around, never had the chance to bring him on. We always had a little conflicting schedule there. But Dieter Kurtenbaugh, who I've always liked his work very much, he had the best headline about the Giants offseason when he talked about who the Giants did spend money on, who the Giants didn't spend money on, what they did do, what they didn't do. And the headline that was attached to his story was the Giants have bought themselves plausible deniability this offseason. Mwah. Chef's kiss to that. That's true. That's what they did. The Giants did just enough to where they can turn around and actually make the argument, hey, we didn't do nothing. But they didn't do so much to where you're like, ooh, let's go. But I like that. The Giants bought themselves plausible deniability. By the way, would have loved to have Framber Valdez on this team. Yeah, they should have gone one step further. Framber Valdez. Is he still out there? I think Framber Valdez is still out there. So they did just enough. Bryce Eldridge, their top prospect, he's going to be in his second camp. I don't know if he breaks camp with the Giants, but he is on the 40-man roster. The phrase, welcome to the show, kid, is rarely used when talking about a manager, but indeed, Tony Vitello, welcome to the show, kid. The guy who has never been around a major league club is the guy managing the major league team. So, Buster Posey, this is your entire credibility put into this particular hire. Good luck. It's a little bit too early to do the official, here's our Giants preview, but basically, here is your Giants preview. Are you ready? Here you go. For the Giants to be anywhere around the wild card this year, I basically say there are 4 non-negotiables. Rafael Devers and Willy Adames both need to be monsters. So there's your first one. You need a great year out of Devers. You need a great year out of Adames for sure. You need Logan Webb to be in the Cy Young conversation basically every single day of this season. And then someone else needs to come along for the ride. And I don't care if it's Wisenhunt or Robbie Ray, but somebody else needs to come along for the ride and win those 14 games while being an inning gobbler, just like Logan Webb has always been an inning gobbler. They're going to need a serious 1-2 punch from their starting rotation. Obviously, a good bullpen has sort of always been the Giants' kind of signature. They're going to need more of that too. But just a monster year from Devers or Adames, and Luis Ariz is in front of them, always on base, because you know what? He is flirting with the National League batting title again. They do that. Those things happen, and baseball will happen around the San Francisco Giants. They've been stuck in painfully average for years. Someone's going to have to step up and have a monster season, Devers, Adames again, for them to be better than just painfully average. And then pitching is always the name of the game. And look, maybe we'll see the new guys who you're not particularly excited about when they were signed. Hey, they're going to really like pitching in that ballpark, and things go well. Or not. I did see that Justin Verlander signed with the Tigers. That happened just before the show started today. I saw Jeff Passan saying that Justin Verlander going back to Detroit. He spent 14 years, I believe, in Detroit. So Verlander, who says he can't go home again other than me talking about Deebo and the 49ers? But Justin Verlander wasn't necessarily bad. He just couldn't win a single game with the Niners or with the Giants, last year. That was frustrating. That was pulling teeth to get him a win. But Verlander back with the Tigers. Aw, isn't that nice? Okay. So here we go. Are you ready for Today in History? Today in History starts, not a lot of great birthdays today, but we do have actor Robert Wagner, 92 years old. And if you don't know who Robert Wagner is, quickly in your mind, you're probably a little bit younger than me, and I wouldn't begrudge you for not knowing who a 92-year-old Robert Wagner is. But just to let you know who I'm talking about, he is number 2 in your Austin Powers movies. Robert Wagner is number 2. Mark Spitz, number 1 when it comes to swimming for gold medals for the United States until what's his name came along, the other guy. Why am I blanking on the other guy's name? Anyways, that's the Summer Olympics. I'm in Winter Olympics mode. Anyways, Mark Spitz, 76 years old today. He is from California, but he perfected the craft at Indiana University. Laura Dern, 59 years old. Michael Phelps, there it is. Thank you very much. Michael Phelps. Thank you. Thank you, Michael Phelps. He hit the bong and the pool. Laura Dern, 59 years old. Elizabeth Banks, 52 years old. Elizabeth Banks, happy birthday, all included. All right, so today in 1763, the Treaty of Paris ended the French and Indian War, and France ceded Canada to England. There you go. Poutine for everyone. Let's see. In 1840, today, weddings basically changed forever. Queen Victoria and her cousin, Prince Albert, were married. They had 9 kids, by the way, and this is where, and probably an awful lot of the British monarchs' dental work went awry. I mean, seriously, some of those monarchies, some of those British royals are as inbred as anyone in the state of Kentucky. Seriously. But Queen Victoria, when she married Prince Albert, this was the first official, huge royal wedding. So the royal wedding, or the concept of, was basically born today in 1840. And she came out wearing a glowing white dress. And the tradition of brides wearing white with a big long train on their wedding dress, that was also born today. So all you beautiful brides wearing white with your big trains, it all started today, baby. The phrase, all the news that is fit to print, appeared on the front page of the New York Times today in 1897 for the first time, and it remains the paper's moniker. Today in 1933, in round 13 of an infamous boxing match that happened at Madison Square Garden, Primo Carnera knocked out Ernie Schaff and killed him. Primo Carnera killed Ernie Schaff today. It was one of the biggest high-profile in the boxing ring deaths in the history of the sport. Also today in 1933, someone who you would probably knock out if they appeared on your front porch today, but the singing telegram. The singing telegram was introduced by the Postal Telegraph Company of New York City today in 1933. Could you imagine anything that would instantly make your, slam a front door faster than that? Could you imagine if somebody sent you a singing telegram to your office today? How just like you would shrink in your chair. It would be so awkward. Oh my God, there's a singing telegram. I don't know. I think I would probably like go out of my way to embrace it. Like I'd stand up and try to outsing the singing telegram. No. Lefty Mo, I do not hate Christmas caroling because Christmas caroling, it happens throughout the entire neighborhood. And it's rarely, look at it this way, Christmas caroling is not one person showing up at your door and singing to you. It's a group of people. There's nothing more awkward than one person singing that you've never met before, looking directly into your eyes singing. That's a little weird. The singing telegram. Today in 1949, Death of a Salesman, one of the great plays in the history of theater, debuted at the Morocco Theater in New York City. Arthur Miller still cashing checks over that. 1953, Romper Room premiered in syndication. Oh, I watched Romper Room when I was a little kid, always hoping that when she would look in the magic mirror and say, I see Tony and Michael and Karen and Sally and Betty and all. She never said Damon, not once. Darren, David, Damien, never a Damon. Not once did that chick give me one Damon in the history of Romper Room. Never. But again, I got over it. You can't choose the art, which brings us back to the Bad Bunny segment, does it not? Okay. Today in 1992, Mike Tyson was convicted in Indianapolis of raping Desiree Washington. She was a Miss Black America contestant. And there's zero victim blaming here, but I will tell you, nothing good happens after 4 a.m. Nothing good probably happens to reluctant to have sex with Mike Tyson when you show up at his hotel room in the middle of the night. Just good advice here from Uncle Damon, okay? Today in 1993, Oprah Winfrey interviewed Michael Jackson at Neverland Ranch. It was the very first interview that Michael Jackson granted to television since 1979. And all I can tell you is that I remember two things. Michael got up for a minute on the stage that, her and Oprah, that he and Oprah were sitting on the edge of during the interview. And he got up and he danced for just a minute. He showed off some dance moves. And dude, that's Michael freaking Jackson. And when he starts dancing, you watch. It's Michael Jackson. So I remember that. And then I also remember everything about this dude is way too weird. Something is fishy with this guy. My boys love Michael Jackson. Every kid today, still, that you hear Michael Jackson, it's awesome. I want them to enjoy as much Michael Jackson as possible before they find out all the other stuff. All the other stuff is terrible and suspect, but it doesn't change how good Working Day and Night is or Off the Wall is. It just doesn't. Rock With You, I will tell you, Rock With You is the single most digestible song in the history of recorded music. You've never met a person who didn't like the song Rock With You. It's a perfect song. Finally, today in 1996, World chess champion Garry Kasparov lost the first game of a 6-game match against Deep Blue. This was a big, important moment in computing. I think the development of AI. This is when computers started self-learning, and Deep Blue was a big deal. And Kasparov won 3, tied twice in the matchup. He turned out to win, but this was a big moment for computing, big moment for chess. And there you go. That is today's show. I thank you so very much for watching. I thank you for liking and subscribing. I thank you for being a part of this, whether you're new here today for the very first time or you've been back every day for what is, 2+ years now, almost 3 years now. Thank you. Thank you very, very much for being a part of this. It means an awful lot to me. And just to let you know how much it means to me, we'll be back and we'll be doing it again at 11 a.m. West Coast time tomorrow, live here on the Plus. So please hit like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. In the meantime, any more supers come in today? We got here. Yosh saying, I freaking love Giants baseball. That is all. Yeah, you're allowed to. You're allowed to like anything you like. And don't try to say just because you like something or you dislike something that everyone else should agree with you, which is kind of the theme of today's show. I thank you very much for being a part of today's show. And please do remember that sports don't build character. They reveal it. And like that, he's gone.